Hello everyone. Today I'm just showing one of my programs that I wrote, which automates a payroll process using Python. So the particular uh, payroll processing website is from ADP. So normally our accounting or HR department processes this payroll, and then ADP outputs a custom report from ADP, and afterwards that custom payroll report, we have to sort of manipulate the data in that custom report in order to put it in a format in an Excel worksheet that's usable to in order to process the payroll on the accounting end. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show what that process looks like. So I'm just gonna start by showing um, the input file that is used and also the output. So let me just start with the input. So this, for example, is the file that I received from ADP. I just anonymized the names for obvious reasons. But as you can see, uh, there's a name, wages, and the breakdown of a person's biweekly payroll, and the payroll starts every pay period. Um, so yeah, it there's each employee has their own cost number, which it just designates which property or which basically position, not position, but location of where this employee belongs to, their job description, whether they're an employee at corporate or a manager at a property, for example, or maintenance or custodian, their wages, social security, different fees, uh, fees for new hires, for example, dental vision plan, uh, different adjustment values, union fees, reimbursement fees, um, Roth IRA, and there are some total amounts in here. So basically, this is the general input file that we have to work with. In the past, uh, the accountants or the people working in accounting would have to manually work with this, but I'm going to show you what the output of this should look like. So basically, they have to transform that file, this raw file, into something like this. So for example, right here, this is after this is the end product that is desired. So they start with a this is the original file, and then basically all those files are put into this format, which is similar to the original, but it's has a little bit more information, and it's cleaned up a little bit more. Some of these employees are categorized by place, like if they're at a property or at a corporate place. And then here it just all the data is just it shows all the formulas for every single row, so it's very clean and you can view, analyze all the data. And here as well, it makes some calculations to show if there's any differences, because in the raw data there's a total amount that should match the amount here, though this amount is different. Uh, so yeah, so there's it's just make sure that there's no discrepancy in the numbers. Yeah, and then there's a few more sheets that are created just to just to have for extra information that's needed, such as some codes, and just create some more codes, more sheets for different for different reasons. On top of this workbook, there's another workbook that is created that also is needed. This one is just called labor distribution. So what this does is it's just has a list of all these properties, and it just shows basically just the labor distribution for each property, so how much each person gets paid, and it's just making sure all the amounts add up and there's no discrepancies. So with this file, I'm just using a base template and writing these files into here. So yeah, so basically again, we are just taking this raw file from ADP. We download it from ADP like this every time HR completes processing payroll. And then I input this Excel file into my Python program. And then this file, it creates this Excel workbook that has this main sheet that organizes and makes everything analyzable, and creates a few more necessary worksheets in here. So yeah, those are the input and outputs, and I'm going to show you how actually the Python creates that workbook. So as you can see here, this is I'm just gonna make this bigger. This is the main Python file. I already ran it, but I'll just demonstrate it again just to make it clear. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete those files. Let me just close out these Excel files. I'm going to go ahead and just run this file just to show how it works. Yeah, it might take a few seconds just to compile the code and produce the Excel files. As you can see here, the main worksheet is already being created right here. And then after the main worksheet, the workbook gets created, the second file will be created for the labor distribution. There. So yeah, basically in about 30 seconds, it'll create these two files, which if a person who's working on this manually, it might take them more than 2 hours fully focused on producing this workbook manually. So yeah, basically I'm using Python. Specifically, I'm using PyCharm IED to write the code and run it. Right here, these are the libraries I use to process the Excel files. So obviously open PyExcel to manipulate the Excel files. I also use pandas just to sort some of the names. Yeah. I also use WinPy32. This is this library which is responsible for editing some Excel files as well that OpenPyExcel is not capable of editing exactly. I also use this glob library just to cycle through multiple PDFs. Multiple work files in a folder. So yeah. Those are the main libraries I use. So in total, as you can see, this code, there's quite a bit of code, about almost two, about probably skipping all the the empty spaces and comments, probably about 1,500 lines of code. Most of it is just manually changing values or inserting values that are necessary, but I'll just explain the basic premise of the code and what I'm doing to achieve this workbook. So I just normally I have some of the functions at the top. So for example, this function right here, it looks a little bit complicated, but what it basically does is uh you I just use it just to locate the value of a string. It's what row it is, what column, and the the column value, the value, Excel value, that's an alphabetical letter, and also the numerical numbers afterwards. So this one, for example, this function, I just type in the string value and it will return, as you can see, it will return the row, column, and then basically the coordinate for any string value. So that's very useful when I'm trying to find where a particular string exists inside inside an entire worksheet. And if there are multiple values that are the same, it'll just return. It should return as another element those three arguments again. Yeah, for example, if I do append, it would create, instead of creating another element, I think it'll create another list, for example. But yeah, there's I have a few more functions that I'll explain later what they do, but yeah, I will use these functions inside the program. Okay, so just to start off with, I make sure to create a folder for where the raw invoice, payroll invoice, goes to. So this is the root folder for my program called payroll. So I created this folder and I will place the raw unedited invoice file in here. And what this current direct get cwd, it'll basically just take any file from this folder and it'll loop through all the files that for example, right here, it'll loop through any files that have XLSX file type, and right here it will sort by the latest file first. Also here, this temp file, it just creates a temporary file, a temporary Excel file, so I can basically manipulate the original file without saving it. So I just create a copy of it, and it'll create a copy in the root folder right here, I believe. It'll create not in the root folder, but in this raw payroll invoice folder. Yeah, so using this glob, I'll just do a for loop going through all the Excel files in this folder. Just in this example, I only have one, but If there are multiple invoices, I it can run multiple invoice files. However, if the pay date is the same, then it will overwrite like the if the pay date inside the folder, for example, this pay date is the same, then it'll overwrite the each one until the last one. So yeah. So here, again, I'm just checking if the temp file is there. So just in case for some reason this temp Excel file is not deleted, it'll make sure to um, pass that file, and I had to go back and delete that file if it's not already deleted. Um, yeah, invoice path. Yeah, this is just the name of the Excel file, just invoice. And then after that, I just basically using that OpenPyXL library, I load up the workbook object basically. Um, and here, um, um, yeah, right here, I'm just creating a copy of it. So there's a copy of this workbook. So yeah, that copy just so I can edit it. After that, I'm just creating some worksheet files. So I'm just making sure I want to manipulate the first worksheet. Well, this is the second one. But the first worksheet is 0, and then 1 is the second worksheet. Um, Here I'm just creating some I'm basically just writing down the date. So for example, this one is just taking the value from worksheet 1 worksheet, which is the second sheet, and then cell row 2 column 2. So if I open up this file, oops, worksheet worksheet hmm, not sure why it's worksheet 1. Okay, but anyways, yeah, so column 2, column row 1, so it's just this date right here. I'm just storing that inside my Python for later use. Uh, yeah, and then I just save some of this information for the invoice type so I can use it for later. I delete some rows in here because I don't need row 1 to 4. These, I just basically delete those rows. That's what that's doing. Yeah. So this part of the code is not important. It's just something I needed to check later. This part of the code is just checking the if all the if all the names and the values are correct. So just sometimes downloading this file, some of these values will be blank, and if they're blank, it'll cause an error in the program. So so yeah, it's just making sure that it there's at least a value there. So for example, I'll just create an example. I'm just gonna copy this right here, and then I'll save this. Let me just I'll just blank out some of these values. For example, I'll just delete this one. I'll delete this one and this one. And then I'll save it, and then I'll go ahead and run this again. Um, oh, oh, this is I should actually I should put this after this. Okay, there we go. So I had to move this because this was also reading some of the rows and columns, but this is supposed to be the check before that happens. But anyways, as you can see here, it says that the cost number here is missing or incorrect, and it's a none value on row 11. Uh, on row 11. Oh, I have to let me have to delete these. I should probably, yeah. So it says the cost number is none on row 11, and this value is missing on column 19. Right. For some reason, it's not. My check wasn't checking this cost number description for some reason. But that it's not that. Anyways, so that's the purpose of that piece of code. It just checks if those values are there, and it'll tell you to correct those values if it's incorrect. Um, yeah. Anyways, um, again, this is just checking if there's any missing values, and it'll just automatically add that row if it's missing, so that the program will run and it won't automatically crash. Uh, okay. Um, Here I'm just saving some values for later use. Yeah. Oh, another thing I should mention. Just within that program, I also reference two files that I have. So, this file here, um, um, and this file. For example, this file. This is just a template that I have just to copy all that. This file. I'm not going to open it because it has some information that I didn't edit, but it basically has the name of the codes uh, and some text information. So it will reference this file, but it's not important to look at for now. Okay. Anyways, so yeah. So basically, in here, there's each person has a unique code for their property and also their position. So basically, this code list right here basically just creates a list of all these codes, and I just truncate the last two characters just so I just have the unique 4 letter codes. So as you can see here, it just a for loop from 2 to the maximum row plus 1, because usually this the range always cuts off before the last value on the right hand side. And then from this empty list, I just basically append for each row, the row I, and then column 3, which is this column C, and then the value of that column. So for example, I'm just gonna demonstrate this. Just run here just to demonstrate it real quick, so it's very clear. So I'm just gonna print it out right here. Code list. Make sure it's very clear, and then I can just end the code right after, so it doesn't have to go away. So yeah, right here as you can see, the output is just a list, this code list, and inside that list is just uh, all these uh, all these code values. Just a um, very simple inputting data and creating the data into a list for the Python program, so you can manipulate it however which way you require. Um, yeah. So let me get rid of that. Okay, here, I just create an exception, just an exception, just in case the formatting of the code list is not correct, just to make sure that uh, it's at least 6 characters long, because all of them should be 6 characters long. And if if it's not a none value, um, yeah. So here I'm just basically just formatting the another list, another file. So I can just demonstrate right here. So I'll just close this out. Let me demonstrate right here. I'm just gonna end the code right here, or shut down the program, so only this part runs. And I make sure to save the temp file before it closes. So right here, the temp file was created inside this folder. Yeah, so it just basically creates another sheet, and then I delete that, and then I delete the first 3, 4 rows, and then I created another column, inserted it in the first column. As you can see, I inserted another column right here, and then I just basically copied that list that I showed before, that code list, into this first column. For example, right here, this is writing the word code into here. Yeah, code, or right here, code. And this is writing all the different codes per row in the entire list into each row. So yeah. Okay, so after that I need to sort these files, because as you can see here, it's sort of out of order. Right. So I want to sort by code alphabetically. So I basically I'm basically using pandas. Well, in my original file, I'm going to be sorting by code first, and after that by employee name. But I anonymize all the employee names, so it'll all start by E. But I would be sorting by 2 different columns essentially. So that's why I was using pandas for this function right here that I needed. So yeah, so I'm basically just creating another temp file. After that, I'm just copying over the entire file, over each row and each cell, copying over each value into the cell. Yeah, so let me just demonstrate that quick so it's very clear what I'm doing. Let me just copy that out to keep on writing it. Let me see. So yeah, right here, I just create another temp file right here. Actually, yeah, I'm just basically copying over that temp file, so nothing too nothing too confusing there. And I just delete that first sheet and only keeping the second sheet. Afterwards, I just load up this workbook again, setting that worksheet from that workbook as the first one. And then yeah, I'm using pandas to uh sort those files. Right. So yeah, pandas. I believe it just creates a data frame, and then you can choose to read the Excel file, and then choose the path, which one, and then the sheet, the sheet number, and then this this function here will sort the values, and then I choose to sort by name. I mean by code first, and then name, and then I want to make it ascending values first, and then yeah, it will go to this Excel file, and afterwards it'll delete this data frame. Yeah, let me see. Let me just put this here. Whenever you use pandas, it'll automatically save the workbook file. You don't need to save it yourself. Like in OpenPyXL, you need to do save. So that part, I mean, I'm saving here because I'm just deleting some of the rows, because for some reason pandas, it changes the format completely after you use it. You create a data frame, so I need to delete the extra rows that it creates. Like for example, I'll just show you what it. So actually, let me do it right here after the sort function. So okay, so I'm gonna open up this. So as you can see, this is pandas doing the sorting function. So it just creates another row. I mean another column that shows which position the row was before, and then so I guess so you know where it was before, but I find it unnecessary, so that's why I'm deleting it right here. And then it just formats the file a little bit differently. For example, it just created the header row. It just created the borders for it, and it made it bold for some reason, and it changed these dates into time date types for some reason. But as you can see, the main purpose of this was to sort the codes alphabetically. So as you can see here, they're all sorted. If these had real names or different first letters, that'd also be alphabetical. So yeah, that's the purpose of that. Let me see. So I'll just run it here to show it again. I'm just deleting that row. So yeah, I just delete that row and just made everything cleaner right here. Yeah, and I copied back the file, that panda data frame file. I copied it back into this one. Yeah, basically I'm saving it to the temp file, and I'm removing that temp1 file. So yeah, that part of the code just sorts it. Yes. So here I'm just deleting some rows, as you can see, and then I'm just like renaming some of the header files. I'm just finding the location of these names, just so I can rewrite the header files. For here, I'm just creating a corp list. So I'm just trying to find out how long the corp list is, because for example, in here, there are people who are corporate people under these rows. So therefore, I need to find out how many are in this row so I can be able to sort it like I showed you in the final output file, like a different section basically. Uh, yeah, so I'm just finding those rows, and then right here I have to make sure I have to reverse the rows when I rewrite the rows, because every time you write a new row, um, the maximum row changes. So you have to do it in reverse order for it to work. So the row number doesn't change. Um, yeah. So for right here, I'm just moving those rows. Uh, yeah. So I can just run this part just to demonstrate. Um, I need to copy this right here. Make sure it's saved. Okay. Um, I'm not sure why that maybe that wasn't writing it just yet. Okay, let me put it here. Put it right here. Um, yeah, and then this row is just basically trying to find the length of the non-corp rows or all the other property people at different locations. So that number that value is sort of important. Um, I'm not sure why it's not saving exactly, but um, yeah. So here I'm just writing some values. Uh, I'm just saving some of the location of these string values, or the not the location, but the column letter of these string values. Um, and let me just delete that. Actually, let me try this again. I think I needed to delete that temp file just to make sure that worked. Let me copy that again. Okay. I guess that was not it. Anyways, yeah, here I'm basically just writing these the sum values in the Excel. So basically, let me see. Uh, these sum values. For example, this one is D1 gross wage, wherever this value is, plus gross wage plus E6, which is this one. So this just creates another file for that. I'll just run it just to make sure it's. Oh, I think I had another system. Oh, that's why. I should delete that. That's why it wasn't running. Okay, let me do this again. That was a dumb mistake. Okay, so here this is the part that I was talking about before. It'll just take those corp values and move it all the way at the bottom, so it's sort of separated. Um, yeah, yeah. So that's what that was doing. So if I just run this again, just to have the final product, just to show you where this comes from. It might take a minute. Once I see that file complete message, I'll just stop it real quick. Okay, we'll just start there just because this file is complete. So I'm basically creating that sum value here, which is this one. So yeah, so this is the column letter for gross wage. The column letter is F. And this is the row, which is this number right here in this Excel formula. And then this other number is this adjustment reimbursement 39, which is somewhere over here. Yeah, right here. So that's AL. So right here, the program is basically just writing this formula, F number AL plus AL number. So the Excel, it'll basically just display this Excel formula that's already linking the other values that are the static values that are in the file. So basically I do all of that down here. I'm just basically writing more of the sums down here, so just the sum values down here, this adding all the values down here, adding the sums, the sum from these two groups of values. Yeah, and then I'm basically just writing more of the values in the title and things like that, like here, these field corp total, all these values. I'm writing that. I don't need to show you each one. Yeah, right here too, I'm just writing more formulas right here, as you can see, just the specific formulas for these values that calculate the differences right here. Yeah, and right here I'm just doing a little bit of just formatting, styling the data. So right here I just created these functions that utilize these values. So for example, set font, I'm gonna look up here. Let me see, set font. Yeah, set font right here is just basically looking at each row in the worksheet for a given cell range. So whatever cell range, for example, in that example, and then for each cell in this row, it'll change this. It'll set the cell font, and this font function, it takes the arguments name, which is whatever the name of the font is, and then the size of the text. So right here I put Arial in size 10. Text size, yeah, so I just basically do that, and I have other functions such as setting no borders. So these borders in the Excel file, I want them to be empty. I did that for basically A1, the range A1 to the maximum column. Yeah, maximum. So for A1 to the maximum column, but 1 would just be the first row, for example. So that's basically what that is. Set alignment, so just to make all the alignments positioned to the left instead of the right. So all these are to the left. I just set bold, set certain cells bold. As you can see here, the header is bold. Some of these total values are bold just to make it easier to see, while the other data values are just non-bold, so it doesn't get too distracting. Fill color. There's some colors that I filled just to point out certain things. Like, for example, this value is just showing that this person is a new hire. So I just filled that out. Yeah, and then I set a red font here. Basically setting red font just to show which values are negative. So I just use this, I guess, this condition function. So I guess this is the range string. So I'm just picking the entire workbook, all the rows and columns, and then making if the value of the cell is less than 0, then make that cell red. And I inserted my own font that I wanted just red, basically. Yeah, this is the same thing for fill. Yellow fill for any not equal to 0, I guess. Yeah, and then this function right here, I'm basically just adjusting each column's width. So there are a few functions that automatically adjust the column's width, but I find that it doesn't work very well sometimes, because sometimes the length of the text is too long and it doesn't know which length to choose. So I just made a manual function to insert each how long each column width should be. So I can just show that function real quick. Let me see. Where is that function? Here it is, manual adjust. So basically the arguments are which letter do you want, up to which letter, and the list of columns. And then I just put default. The default sheet is this worksheet that's named WS. And then I just put another function to get all the alphabets, because in Excel, after you go a while, the column names will start looping back on itself. After Z, it goes to AA, etc. So yeah, and after that, I guess I'm just creating a list, a tuple between the alphabet list, and the column adjust list. So how much to adjust, and then basically I use this function right here, column dimensions, on this sheet to change the width. Basically change the width. Yeah. So that was pretty simple. So yeah, that's the first part of the code. After that, let me just try to go through this a little bit quickly and basically point out anything that's kind of interesting. So that was the first part of the code it'll save. And after that, the next part of the code is the subtotal part. So what this does is I'm basically creating another. So the issue. So basically, there's two ways that I've been using to deal with Excel files. There's OpenPyXL, and there's also WinPy32, I believe, because that can also edit Windows files very in a particular manner. I don't understand how the process works exactly, but it's definitely different. So OpenPyXL seems to be a little bit limited on how it can edit files or save Excel files. Um, for example, if I try to save an Excel file, but I want to save what the actual values that are calculated by the Excel. For example, if I have a formula here, right, uh, it'll, Excel will calculate this formula and it'll output this string value, or I mean this int value, float value, right, for this this dollar amount. But if you were to save this file, this Excel file as it is, usually OpenPyXL will only save the actual value in the cell itself. So it would save this value, this formula, which is not useful for me. I want to save the actual calculated value. So using PyWin32, you can save this actual file instead of the formula. So that's the purpose of this. So basically, to run PyWin32, sometimes I have to run this bit of script just to make sure. I'm guessing all the processes run correctly. I believe the Excel object that's created for Win32, I guess, dispatch on this Excel application worked correctly. So that's the purpose of that. Yeah. So right here, I'm just saving this. Saving another. We can copy of this, but this value will be saved instead of this formula. So I'll just show this right here because it'll be very obvious what I mean. So yeah, right there I can show you what I showed you just before was the Excel just showing the value, but not the calculation, but not the value. Not the actual data. So for example, I will just run the program and just end it right here after this part. So I'm basically just creating another file, and I'm just doing a little bit of complicated creating a PyWin source file and then copying it over, making sure it's copied over correctly, and then I'm just saving it. That's basically all I'm doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and run that to see. Okay, so yeah, that original subtotal folder, subtotal Excel file I created in this root folder. So it's right here. So as you can see right here, that PyWin32, it saves the Excel formula in the Excel. It saves that calculation, and it saves it as just a data value, just a pure data value, no formula. So this is important because I need to manipulate these data values, and I can't do it with the formula because the OpenPyXL can only read the actual data in the cell, each cell. So this is important to have just only numerical or string values, no equal Excel formulas or anything like that. So that's the purpose of using that method. Yeah, so basically the rest of this, I'm just editing the files, just creating some dates right here. Let me see here, anything else interesting? Let's see. I think here I'm just creating a dictionary, it seems, and I'm writing another list here. Actually, let me see what I'm doing here. Let me just run that. Let me just delete this and this and run this part to see which part I did actually. I need to save that right here. Let me run that again. Um, after this file was created, which is just this main part, I'm creating the other sheets that I need. So basically this sheet, I'm just um. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm basically just taking each value, each unique property code, this code, and I'm just adding up all these ones together. As you can see, this one, for example, ADP. So I'm just adding up all these values. As you can see right here, it's 3,200 something, or rather, oh, this value, I think. Oh, maybe I'm missing something. Um, I don't know why that's like that. Actually, let me check that value. Um, there might be another value I'm missing or something, or I'm not writing the code correctly. But anyways, I'm just it should be summing these un- values that are the same property code, and I'm just totaling it up and creating just one one total. So that's why I was just creating a dictionary and a dictionary key for each value. So yeah, yeah, that's basically what I was doing here. Yeah, I created a list for the codes, and then for the totals, then I created a list that with a tuple for each code, and then I'm just creating a dictionary. After that, I'm just writing the dictionary. Uh, yeah, writing the dictionary into this created sheet right there. So yeah, that's basically what that was doing. Okay. Let's see what else. Yeah, after that, the next sheet that was created was just referencing uh some information like text, bank information, just to copy it over, and I'm just formatting the file, uh, adding names to each the headers, saving it. Then I'm creating another sheet called a transfer sheet, creating that. Um, just formatting that file, just deleting certain rows to format it the way that it's supposed to be, adjusting it, and then I'm saving that. Um, yeah, let me continue. Um, okay, so here I'm just creating another one of those sheets that has a lot of information. Um, yeah, so maybe I'll just demonstrate this part real quick. Let me just this part. So in this sheet, I'm basically oh, what happened? Just run that again. Sometimes pi win32, it'll just crash for some reason, and you have to rerun it again to make sure it works. There you go. So here I'm just creating another file. So in this file, there's specific codes that associates with each of these uh, job descriptions. So I have to manually, so not manually, but I have to associate each of these particular codes with certain values in here. So, for example, this num number, which this num number uh, is just right here, which I created. So, oops, as you can see, it's worksheet, row, whatever, and then column 6, which is column F. So this is 10. So if this is 10, then I want it to write this whatever 8-digit code right here. So I basically do that, so it will loop through each column and then it'll go through each row. Yeah, and I'm just putting more conditions for each thing and putting some extra conditions that I need in there. Yeah, so that's that. Then here, I'm just using the WinPy again just to, I think just to copy just getting more of the data values, because I think I was making more calculations, so I'm just copying the values over. Right here is just another error check. I just spliced in here just in case there's an error, so it'll read out any errors that comes out. Basically, if any rows that are none or something that shouldn't be, or if the code link is the wrong link, then it will display an error message and on which row that where there's an error. Right. So this part of the code, let me just do it right here. Let me just run it again so I can show you which part this is. Okay, it finished. So this part of the code, I'm basically just let me see. I'm creating an order list. I am sorting some rows, so I believe it's right here. Oops. Oh, perhaps it's not right here. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just sorting some rows on another sheet here. Let me close that. Okay, right here. Let me go all the way down. This is kind of a long stretch of code right here. Actually, let me just do this. So I'm just showing the rest of this main file. Let's see here. Where was I at? Yeah, so this, oops, let me just wait. So those rows, I'm just creating, again, just more of these sheets. The only difference is I'm just like deleting some rows in these sheets just because that's what is required. And right here, I believe I was sorting this, doing a sort on the rows, for example, right here. Um, yeah, right here I'm just sorting the rows again, so I can just let me just show that function real quick. Sorted rows. Let me see. Sorted rows. Let me see. Oh, short Excel sheet. Yeah. So, this is the function that I use. To be honest, I think I use ChatGPT to create this function. So, but this is what it does to sort it. Um, Basically, just the input arguments are just the starting row. What row do I want to start to sort it by in the starting column, and it'll just looks like it just sorts it by the first uh it's sorted by a certain criteria in there, just the ABA column. But yeah, it just uses that sorting function, and I'll create a few more of these sheets as I showed here. But there's one part I wanted to show that was a little bit more involved. Um, Let me see. Let me see. So here, um, so right here, I'm looking at specifically sheet 6, which is sheet 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, this is sheet 7. Is it sheet 7? Okay, maybe that is sheet 7. Okay, not that one. Let me see. Um, Reverse. Yeah, I'm just like writing more of the stuff, all these formulas into the sheet. Okay, actually right here. Let me see. Okay, this is sheet 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here I'm basically creating another file for this I'm just basically creating like a summary of each of these values that are categorized in certain needed things. So it's just categorized like this and adding some values at each part, writing it in here. So that's basically what I'm doing here, and just writing a bunch of these values, and then writing the Excel formulas in that spot, and then right here, basically I'm basically just using uh each I'm using this locate function to find the distance between each file, each row, so I know like this row is wherever inventory is minus 4 or something like that, or this one inventula, which is always it will always be there in that spot. So I'm just subtracting that into finding the row where that is. So that's basically how I'm finding each row where the row is. And these are just values I saved from the beginning, and I'm just putting it there. And at the end, I'm just formatting it, and then I'm just setting the border and text styling for everything here. Then I save it. Um, And then, yeah. Um, Let me see. I think here I'm basically just uh oh, here I'm just creating another sheet that is just basically the same thing as this sheet, but um after each property unique, I just add a row, and then I just add the sum of all these values. I believe there's a way to do this in Excel natively. It'll create like a bunch of tabs, another like a little box right here, and then you can press a plus sign and it'll expand it. But this one is just doing it natively in here for the Python program. Right. So yeah, I'm just still styling it right here. Right. Me that. Um, yeah, these are some extra piece of code just in case if you want to run this part. However, if uh some rows are missing that have these specific names, then this will create like dummy rows just to add to this so that the program will still finish, but there'll just be extra dummy rows in there with the 0 values for these rows. And let me just try to go through this really quick. It's only like 100 lines of code left, but for this file, I'm just basically creating. Let me just rerun it again. This extra labor distribution file. So I'm basically copying that other file that I just showed you that had the yellow highlighting. So I just copy that over to another creative file called labor path. And then I'm setting up some of copying over that entire sheet with all the styling on there. So yeah. So basically all of these ones right here. And then right, I'm just copying over, oops, let me see, right here. So I just copy that over with all the styling and everything. And then I just create just several lists of all the property codes, these codes, these codes on the template. So just in this template, if there's a property that's not in here, it will tell you which is missing and which new codes that are in this invoice but are not in this template. It'll tell you to add them if there's a row in here, if there's a code in here but the code is not in here, it'll tell you to add another one. And yeah, basically a bunch of these yeah yeah, so basically I'm just writing all these values for the total values and the code into here. Oh well, I'm not writing it. I'm just sort of using linking between sheets. So this is just a linking formula. I could write a value, but I found it to be a little bit cumbersome, even though that probably would be more useful. But for right now, I'm using just this linking formula to generate the values, which is fine. So, I mean, these are the formulas that I use, this Excel formula to link the value from the other sheet. And then, yeah, I'm basically just adding some more values, like copying these dates right here to make sure it's the same as from here, as you can see here. Then saving it, and then I'm just writing more files, and then after that I save it and it's all complete. So yeah, that's my entire program. Yeah, I know it was a little bit long, but it's very useful, yeah, to automate everything. So If you have any questions, let me know. I will show you. I'll put a link to my GitHub just so you can play with it if you want. Yeah. So if you have any payroll people who work in payroll that kind of manually works on an Excel sheet that can be automated, yeah, something like this would be very useful. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.